Welcome everyone on today's webinar, Newired Release 23.1. My name is Jiří Valek. I'm a VP of Product Management at Newired. And today is a time when we start speaking about the brand new release that we have released recently in April. The webinar will be presenting the live features. Most of you have an understanding what Newired is, so it is not the introduction to our technology. It really speaks about what's new and noteworthy in the brand new release 23.1. Even though I'm still sure that even people with, let's say, less understanding of Newired would still benefit from, let's say, watching my session today. And if necessary, you can ask questions and I can dive deeper into some more basic principles of our digital adoption platform. So I'll, as usual, for the what's new and noteworthy announcements, I don't prepare slides, but I highlight that our team is, let's say, summarizing what's new and noteworthy on our blog. So I'll take the blog article as a key outline for my presentation today. And we will speak mostly about three main topics: about the segmentation, about the custom property initialization, and some other smaller features throughout this webinar. So let's dive deeper into what has been delivered in the 23.1, and we start with the user segmentation. So many of you, when you were considering buying Newired, you were raising questions about how do we control who sees what. Let's see, how can you ensure that let's see, the people are not overwhelmed with the content, and they can focus on the stuff that actually matters. And from the early days, we had in our platform a feature called visibility rules. So I'll restart my my presentation about the segments once again. So what you know is that for any journey, for any step, we can define the, let's say, the conditions, the visibility rules, who can, let's say, see what journey, or who can see what step, what tip, based on the different conditions. The conditions like URL, element, content, browser language, etc. And what we are now, let's say, introducing in our digital adoption platform is that instead of defining it journey by journey, instead of defining it tip by tip, you can define in the so-called segment editor a custom segment. The custom segment could be that I want a segment like end users logged in. What it means is that this would say that the URL does not contain login and the browser language is English. Okay, so I can define such a segment, and what I can actually see is that if you have a look here on the CRM overview journey, we see that here we have the visibility rule doesn't contain login. I can remove it. If I remove this actual condition, I see here the CRM overview here. But now if I actually assign it to a segment, so I say that this journey is visible only to my logged in English users, then I don't see the CRM overview, and this is centrally managed. So I can see, I can change it now for all the actual journeys that I remove the, let's say, the rule, and I assign the segment. And from now on, let's say, I don't see any of these two journeys, but unlike before, that each journey should have this specific rule defined, I can manage it centrally through the segment editor and through the segment definition. So if I would need to adjust the conditions, what means English logged in users, I can do it centrally within the segment editor and apply it easily for a journey, or I can actually go to any step, and for any step I can actually use the special rule called segment rule, and I can say that this journey will be visible if the user is, for example, English user logged in, or this is not logged in user. Okay, so the segments help me to easily reuse the set of the rules across any particular element in Newired. So if you go back to the presentation, the main goal of this user segmentation was to actually allow to target a specific group of users with a different content and different interactions. But there is one additional benefit of user segmentation that I want to highlight. And this is, let's say, a game changer for the actual analytics. So if you go back to our, let's say, CRM demo site, we see that under the analytics, we have extended the filtering capabilities. So the segments are not there just to control who sees what, but it can also help us to actually easily filter the analytical data for the users within different segments. Let me pause here and explain that a bit more. Okay, so even if you don't use the segments for any journeys as a visibility condition, so you can create a segment and not assign it to any journey. You don't need to assign it to any step, but there is still one benefit. Whenever a user is interacting with the Newired content, we understand in which segment the user, or let's say what segments are active for a given user. And from this perspective, you can easily, let's say, then measure that for the English browser users, we had only 5 engaged users, and for Italian browser, there was 1 engaged user. Okay, so what it means is that the segments can be used only not to control the visibility of a specific journeys for specific users, but it can also help you to understand, let's say, who is using the Newired and how. It can also be used if you define a segment for a particular user role. You would be able to, for example, see who has been, even if you select a particular playlist, a playbook, you would be able to see how many users from the segment English browser, or requirements users, or sales managers. So how many users have been actually trained, how many users within this segment has completed the given playbook, etc. So the important thing, segments are not there only, let's say, to target a different content to a different users, but it's also easier for you to manage and analyze the performance of the different user groups. So 2 major benefits of user segmentation: easy way to apply the set of rules across multiple journeys and maintain it on one place only, but in the same time, the segments help you to filter the content using the analytics. Now, there is another, let's say, feature that is tightly connected to the segmentation, but not solely to segmentation. And this is about custom property initialization. So I already touched this topic now, that I was saying that maybe you wish to have a segment that is specific to some user role. Many of you are asking, how can we define it? So how can we actually make sure that I present a different content to different user roles? And for a long time, we have the feature that enables that. And this is a feature related with the so-called custom property rules. Let me switch to a different site. I will be using for it a marketing platform called HubSpot. And what is the HubSpot? The HubSpot allows me to, let's say, manage, it's a CRM system, so it can help me to manage the different contacts. It can help me to manage the deals. So I can really manage any type of this, let's say, CRM/marketing data. And within this platform, I can define a so-called teams. So I have here different users, and there are also different teams. So by default here, we see that IO is a part of the team tester, and Europa is not actually part of any team. And we would like to make sure that some journeys will get visible only if the logged in user is this one and not the Europa. So you want to say, I want to create journeys that are specific to this tester team only. From a Newired perspective, the solution is really simple. We want to have a journey only for testers. And for this journey, we want to define a segment called testers. So we want to see that this journey is visible only to testers. Who is the tester? The tester is a segment. So we define who is the tester in the segment editor. So we define a segment called testers, and this will use the so-called custom property rule. The custom property rule evaluates something which is provided as an external information to Newired, whether there is a certain value. So what we want to see is that a custom property teams contains a tester. One person can be a member of multiple teams. So here we are just saying that the teams shall contain the value tester. And as we said, we use the custom property rule because the custom property rule is related to something which is external, which is not really managed by Newired. This is managed in a HubSpot. So I can define any custom property, and you can check it inside of the segment editor or inside of the visibility rule editor. But now the question is, how can you pass the information about, let's see, what is the role of the logged in user? And for that, let's say for more over than 12 months, we provide an API to pass such information to Newired. But this API was available only when you were using a snippet to deploy Newired over your target application. But with the new version 23.0, we enable something unique. And this is that if you go here to the segment editor, to the settings and advanced settings, there is an element here which is called additional page script. And I really sorry that this is a little bit technical feature, but I really think that it's quite crucial for many of you to really understand this approach. So what we are saying here is that you want to pass some information from the target platform. So we have HubSpot, which manages the users, and the users are part of the team. And we want, based on this information, to do some, let's say, filtering in a Newired system. So this requires the integration between Newired and HubSpot on a slightly higher level. What we do now is that we can provide additional script which is executed and which uses the, in this case, HubSpot API to read about from the, let's say, from the platform, what is a theme or to set the custom property theme based on the current user and based on the HubSpot API. So what does it really mean? That I can deploy also for, let's say, the applications that are driven by the browser extension. So for the HubSpot, it's a cloud application. They do not allow by default, let's say, to plug in the snippet into their application. So we are using on this system the browser extension. but we want, even when using the browser extension, to use the API and connect HubSpot with Newired. In this system, I mean, we can help you through our service team, or your IT organization can use the API of a target platform, get the information about the user, and pass this information to Newired. So what will be the impact? The impact will be that if I am logged in as a uno.io, so this is the user, which you remember has a tester role, that I see the journey only for testers. But if I would actually logged out, and I log in as a different user, I log in as a sorry for that. I need to log in here again to just demonstrate this functionality. So I log in as a different user. So I log in as a Europa user with the correct passport. Now, I don't see the journey only for testers. Why is it so? Because this user has a different role, not a tester role, and all is being managed, even though let's say the system was actually deployed via the browser extension. By the way, this is an example that is a great example of not just to demonstrate how, let's see, how to pass the information about the so-called custom properties, but it is also an example how to use an API, for example, to provide the identity of the logged in user. So I can use the same context to actually derive the identity of the user from the target platform. So the same script can be used to, let's say, deploy any APIs related to Newired. So who is the logged in user? What is the user experience level? Which language the user should use? But not only this, with the snippet, I can pass any custom properties, in this case, the property teams. You can define any property. It doesn't need to be called team. The team is something specific to HubSpot. In Salesforce, you can have a role. In Polarion, you can have a department. So you can really define any of the properties, pass it to the target, to Newired, and then based on, let's say, the custom property rules, you can segment the data in a very smart way. And again, the segments are not used only to specify who can see what, but the segments also define, let's say, on the analytical level, that, for example, there is one engaged user from the tester perspective, but if you see, let's say, all the segments, we see 3 engaged users. So once again, what does it really mean? If you go to the HubSpot, we see under the administration that there are 3 defined users. So by default, I see that all of these 3 engaged users have been trained, okay? But I can say, okay, what about my segment called testers? And the testers here, I see that there is one engaged user that is actually my user called uno.io. So this really shows the ability to segment users not only by a public information or standard information like URL, browser language, location, but it really all shows that we are capable for more deeper integrations where the information is passed from the target platform to Newired system. I know that this was more complex than we usually let's say, speak about on our was noteworthy webinars. But I think that this feature was really very essential, and it really improves a more deeper integration of Newired with the target platforms. So segmentations, great for controlling visibility, but also a great feature to filter the analytics based on different classifications of the users. Next, I want to speak about something really simple, and this is the so-called quick preview. So, you know that a couple of years ago, we implemented a great feature. The great feature was ability to actually modify the content in a so-called WYSIWYG way. So whenever I add a step, so this is a first step, and here is the content, I can edit the content directly in a pop-up. This applies for the dialogue, or it also applies for a callouts. So click here to import data. But of course, you can add some. Here is the screenshot of sample Excel. This has been really a massive improvement since the first version of Newired that we released in 2016, that it's really absolutely trivial to just visually, let's say, modify the data on the screen. But here and there, you need to click this edit button. This edit button now, let's say, allows you to, for example, put here some more, maybe a link to a journey, or let's do this journey link to welcome everyone. Which one? Yes. So we can have a link. What we can have as well is that we can put here a picture. So we put here the image from maybe from the image library. But whenever you use this, let's say, pop-up editor, you usually need to move it left or right just to see how it looks for the big version, because then you can adjust, for example, the size of the bubble. Oh, this is okay, but maybe now it's smaller. But the people were really complaining that when they had to use this pop-up editor, they don't see the, let's say, the content. They need to move it around. We have been told to maybe implement a sidebar to control all those conditions, and honestly, we don't like it. So we came up with a very simple idea with this little button called Quick Preview. If you click this little button, you see that you have the instant view into the screen size and the screen pop-up elements without being disrupted by this pop-up editor. So this means that I can easily just let's say, adjust the content and have the instant ability to see how does it apply for the rendered content. So if I do this, you see that now it's actually bigger. It is a small but a very important improvement for the content editors. Once again, I think that really most of the time, I'm sure that you use the in-place editing. So the in-place editing help to see what I type instantly. But if you need to use the editor, it's also great that we have this option to preview the content with one click. Now there is something more, because we really always listen to our customers, and we want to speak as well about the so-called journey links. So what are the journey links? The journey links enable you to connect journeys together. There is a very nice example when we go to our CRM demo platform. So if I go to crmdemo.newired.com and we run the first journey called CRM overview, It's a journey that explains what are the different elements on the screen, so I can just go through it. You see that I cannot click anywhere. If I click anywhere, it does nothing. So I'm really forced to follow the onboarding procedure. If I go through it, I get to the step that it says, that's all for the CRM overview. However, we will ask you to click on Newired survey below to compile a brief form. This will help us to know a bit more about your users. You see that I have a button here called Newired survey. You can click on it and it triggers a different journey, triggers the journey Newired survey. From this journey, I can actually define my company name, I can define any other properties, and at the end, that's a great example of connecting two journeys together. So principally, if I switch to a different site, so I switch to our CRM demo, we see that there is a journey called CRM overview. Oops. And in the CRM overview, we have a step here. It says that's all for CRM overview, where we have a content that we have seen live, which says run the Newired survey journey. This is controlled by being able to insert the journey link. You remember this is something that I was also doing when I was presenting this quick preview button. And what you can do with this is that you can connect journeys together. What we have done with this version is that there is this little button called edit, which allows you to actually open the journey link dialog, where you can see to which journey is being linked. But not only this, you can also say that I want to jump directly to a particular step, and you can also provide a custom label. So we can say run Newired survey now. So with the brand new version, you have a better control for any, let's say, inserted journey links. With the edit button, you can really present all the information about the labels, about which step to navigate to, and you can adjust it any time. That's a feature that is really quite useful for those who want to build, for example, a very, let's say, a multi-step processes. Especially, I mean, some people are asking, what if my journey takes more than an hour? We usually recommend that you split such journey into multiple journeys, but you can ensure that the people have a specific parts, and at the end of each chapter, you recommend the user to start a second chapter and third chapter, etc. So you build a sequence of maybe 5 journeys, and at the end of one journey, you suggest the user that they should continue with another journey. Or, I mean, if you don't want to just suggest it, you can, of course, let's say, put there an action. The action could be, let's say, to start a specific journey, to play a journey, for example, Newired survey. So the user wouldn't need to click, but they can actually start the journey also automatically. But we really wanted to present it differently this time. So this example shows that you can suggest the user to play the journey manually, not with the autoplay scenario. To conclude the 23.1, we really consider the 23.1 to bring a really significant improvements. Many of that, as you were, let's say, able to see today, are really about targeting different user groups or different user segments. First, to define the user segments, and then to target them. This is not really completely new feature. We have the visibility rule for ages, but this is really about making it more simple, more manageable with the dedicated segments. It's not just for the segmentation of the target different users, but it can be also applied for analytics. We also enable to preview the changes in the real time and make a quick changes to the journey links. All of that has been already released. All of that, what I was presenting today, is already live. If you haven't updated yet, we are pleased to assist you through our support service with the update to the new version, especially for you who are using Newired as an on-premise solution. That's about the brand new release, and now I will go to the GoToWebinar panel, and I hope that I will see some questions there. We can now link the journeys together. What is the difference with using a playbook? The playbook is a playlist of, let's see, several journeys that describes a specific domain, or it could be journeys that are specific for different roles. But with the journey links, you can also give a user a chance to do decisions. So some other use case for the journey links that has been in our solution for ages is that at the end of this journey, we want to see run Newired survey now or learn more by creating a first account in CRM. And here I insert the journey, how to create an account. Create your first CRM account. So in this way, what I was able to do is not only to build, let's say, a playbook, but I could really suggest, let's see, what are truly the next steps in a given context. So maybe, let's say, it's like, it's on the website, I can have a menu. So if I go to newired.com, of course, there are many different, let's say, pages in the navigation. So the playbook is like my menu, what I can all do, but it doesn't mean that on the page there is no link. So of course I click here, learn more, it opens the Why Newired. The Why Newired is also here. So you can imagine that the playbook, the playlist, is like my menu, which, let's say, describes everything which is relevant for a given training, for a given role. I can have multiple, or I can have here my solutions playlist and services playlist. But it doesn't mean that I don't, let's say, have also contextual suggestions where to go really next. So you can, of course, mix the journeys, the journey playbooks with the journey links, and the journey links could be more contextual or more contextually related to the place where you are within the journey. And I would also highlight that really the journeys are a great way to suggest alternative routings. So, I mean, whenever you run a journey, how to buy something on Amazon, at the end you can have two options. Do you want to check out the stuff today, or do you want to save for later? And of course, I mean, you can have it in the playbook as well, but once you are in a process in your journey, sometimes giving users an option is always a good idea. So there is no real guidance when to use the journey links and when to use the playbooks, but I think it's the same like on the website. I have the contextual links in my content, and then I have a menu on the top. what personal information is being sent to the server via custom property rules. As you know, the privacy and data security has been always our primary, let's say, focus whenever we design any feature. So when I was presenting you the way how you can pass data about a target user to Newired, it was designed with having the privacy in mind. So what you pass to Newired has been actually controlled by this little snippet that we described here under the settings, advanced settings, and here we have it. Because what you see here, that we send or we ask HubSpot to give us the information about the user, but the most important thing is that this is being executed on the client. So what it means is that this piece of code doesn't run on the Newired server. It doesn't send any information to Newired server at all. By the way, this wouldn't be even possible because this is being part of the authenticated session. So all what we do is that we run a specific API and we send back with this return statement anything what we call a custom property. In this case, we use the property teams. And the beauty of that even this information is not being sent to the Newired server. This information stays 100% on the client. So all these scripts, all these informations stay 100% on the client, because all what we need to do, what you remember is that we had the segment in the segment editor. If you go back to the HubSpot, if you go to the segments editor, we just set up the segment called testers that tests that the custom property teams is set to tester. And this is also being evaluated on the client. So on the server, we don't need to know anything about the user. We don't need to know anything about, let's see, what the actual property is, because it's the client who is checking whether the user is a tester. And then the only information that we send to the server is the information about the segment. So then under the analytics, I can actually, let's say, segment or filter the analytics via the segment memberships. So we send the information that the particular user is associated with the segment tester, but we don't know who the user is, because in this moment we can disable the personal analytics. In this case, they are disabled, but I can, or enabled, but I can disable them. And from now on, let's see, we will not know anything about the user other than a membership to a specific segment, which the segment itself is not really, let's say, a personal information. And of course, the segments are optional features. You don't need to do anything. By the way, you can completely disable the analytics if necessary. So to repeat what I said, all the scripts are running on the client. All the evaluations of the custom property rules are running on the client only. The only information that is being sent to the Newired server is the information that the particular user token, which is anonymized token, is associated with a given segment. So it's completely safe from the GDPR point of view. We don't share any personal information to the server. Okay, what else we have? Does the custom property rules also work with the Microsoft Edge browser? Yes, I'm using my Google Chrome browser for this presentation, but actually the custom property rules are working with any browser. The custom property rules have been there within our platform since already, I think, 16 months. What we have added, just to repeat, in this release was that we added an option to deploy or a snippet that uses the Newired API directly from the site administration. Because in the past, you were able to use such a scripts directly when you were placing the snippet into your target application. Now you can define such a snippet directly on the Newired administration page, and these scripts are being also used by the browser extensions, and the browser extensions exist also for Microsoft Edge and other browsers. So we support all the popular browsers on the market now. Let me check if there are any other questions. Can you share a snippet for Salesforce, how to load the user role? So for this webinar, we selected the HubSpot platform, and we just pick one CRM system to demonstrate it. Of course, you can use the similar approach for any other, let's say, platform, because all the popular platforms provide the REST APIs to learn more information about the logged user. Please connect with our support, and we can assist you with actually let's say providing the information about the logged user for the HubSpot for the Salesforce. Just in the Salesforce out of the box doesn't support the Teams concept. It's a slightly different. So we will just need to have a discussion together based on what property you would like to segment the users using the let's say the Salesforce platform. We have reserved 45 minutes for this webinar, which is exactly the time now. Thank you very much for your time. Once again, go to our website, Newired blog, what's new and noteworthy in 23.1. You can read what I was presenting about on this page. You will also receive the recording in a few hours or days. And if you would have any additional questions, please contact our support. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.